want to thank you for joining us today here at We want to thank you for joining us today here at... Oh, shut up. I'm going to get it. We want to thank you here for joining us today here. So, moving on to our other... to our next... what the hell is this shit again? Moving on to our next... what? As well as the entered... as well as... so that we... Do you think I could do radio?
You had the face for it.
Oh, God, I hate you.
What's new?
Because I need therapy.
Can you tell the difference in the quality of the video?
Unfortunately, yes, you can see your face clear.
What are you doing?
I am standing because I am getting swamp ass.
Dude, the one cheek sneak doesn't work when everybody's staring at you. Did you not notice I increased the size significantly?
No,
oh my goodness.
I'm also dyslexic, Gert.
What?
The system is down. If you have any feedback, other tips and tricks, or comics you'd like to discuss, please send them to us.
So, you're looking to try a new role-playing game not owned by a backstabbing, thieving rogue? Well, lucky for you, there are plenty of great games that have been overshadowed by the multi-million-dollar budget Thieves Guild. Join us today as we get savage with the critically acclaimed Savage Worlds RPG by Pinnacle Entertainment. Hello and welcome, heroes, to Crit Academy, episode 298. Damn.
Big number.
Of the Crit Academy podcast. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
And I'm your co-host, Brandon.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure. Actually, you can bring it with you tonight, in your game tonight.
Yay.
That's how we roll. Of course, you're going to go to your game after you're done watching us, right? So, Savage Worlds, you guys.
It's been around for a while.
It has. It's not new, but man, is it popular. If you visit any drive-through RPG or any of that stuff, you'll find a bunch of games that use the Savage Worlds mechanics. And honestly, I really like it. It's fast-paced. It's action-packed. And the game offers players a wide variety of options and very unique mechanics.
And for that matter, too, even the publisher alone offers multiple modules and settings you can tailor to a world that you want.
Yeah, you can see right here, Ian brought in his core book and then 3 others that are designed for a myriad of systems.
Yeah.
One is superhero, fantasy, and what was the other one? Gothic horror.
Horror, yep.
So the system is very versatile.
Now, it's worth noting that the physical books I have here present are from the previous edition, which is the... Okay.
You can pull up the
Deluxe
PDF.
Explorers edition. But it is by and large backwards compatible with the latest edition. And the changes actually are so minimal they even document the differences in the current edition from the past one
In a
on the-
single page.
in a single page. Waiting download for free. So, how prosumer is it that they say, oh, you already have books? Well, here's what you need to keep playing.
See, that's fantastic. Now, obviously, if you normally play D&D,
Yep.
there is quite a few differences in this, and I actually love the unique mechanics. First of all, the stats obviously are different, but they're
Yeah.
not solid numbers like you normally get.
No.
Do you want to elaborate on that, Ian?
Now, instead of having a static number, which goes to modifiers if we are familiar with in D&D,
Mm-hmm.
what they do here instead is you assign dice to each one. Like strength, for example, instead of being like let's say 12, it's like a D4, D6, D8, up to a D12. And it works that way for skills.
That sounds really cool.
I know. And it works that way for skills as well.
Yeah, and what's cool about it, so, we know 10, the static number 10 in D&D is
Nothing.
commoner. And this one, I think it's a D4 or D6. I think it might be D6.
I think D6 is
It's
like average.
generic, right?
Yeah.
And so what's interesting about this is you don't roll for the numbers or stats.
No.
You pick hindrances. So this is a really new mechanic, and I want to hear Brandon's thoughts on this. So hindrances are flaws and drawbacks and other kind of dark secrets drawn from your character's backstory, right? And you can take up to 4 points of hindrances. Major hindrances, I think, are 2 points,
Yep.
and minor are 1 point. So you can do any combination up to 4, right?
Which you can use to boost stats or by edges, which is basically their version of
Feats.
feats. Yeah.
And it's actually very, very cool. So the building of your backstory helps generate resources for you to use to build your character.
And for all intents and purposes, it's worth noting that there is no classes, there's no levels. Now, you still have races, you still have traits, you still have like, kids you can assemble together
Right.
that you can use to tailor for the kind of character you want for the game you want. But that doesn't mean there aren't some milestones, if you will, to measure by.
Now, Brandon, what does this sound to you as a person that has no
No.
experience with this?
I have 0 experience with Savage Worlds. I didn't actually read about the book or anything, but what I've heard from so far really makes me want to play it. And this hindrance thing, let me get this right. Okay, so major hindrances are worth 2 points.
Yep.
Minor is worth 1.
Yep.
So you can either have 2 minor, 1 major, 2 major, or 4 minor.
Yes.
At character creation.
Character creation. I think you can get more, right?
It depends. And they
Does that-
even say here and there, you can buy off.
The GM.
Yeah, you can buy off the hindrances too. As long as the GM allows it, doesn't make sense. Like sometimes, if you like the hindrance blind, for example, sometimes it makes sense to buy it off. Some you're blind.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's going to be a bit of a problem.
You
Oh,
have
but
4
maybe.
minor problems with what your character is.
Yeah.
But they're not that.
Yep.
Not so bad, but
So do you want to give us some examples, maybe, Ian?
Absolutely. Some minor hindrance, for example, is all thumbs, which basically means you have to repair or cause malfunctions.
You have no finger. That's
Yep.
so funny.
Okay, major bad luck. Another major one, bloodthirsty.
So even the titles, there's obviously descriptions that go with each of these to
Yep.
flesh out your character.
And I am reading the summary page, which I do need to say is a summary page.
yeah,
why does it
'cause
say, like,
they're very,
minor, major?
long.
Minor hindrances, major hindrances.
Like a
Yeah,
minor
I mean,
hindrance
I
might
see,
be.
it says minor, major.
Oh.
Instead of
Oh,
two.
minor, major. There are some hindrances you can choose either minor or major, depending on how big a penalty you want for it.
So there's bonuses there.
Like one, for example, is greedy. Let me flip over to greedy and see what that one says.
So we're going to give a couple examples of hindrances, and I think this is really cool because this is a different take on like backgrounds.
Yep.
Because you're essentially building out. Okay, I want my character to be a gambler and greedy.
Yep.
So taking one of those hindrances fits that theme, right? And it gives you the resources you need.
And using greedy as an example, your miserly hero measures his worth in treasure. If a minor hindrance, he argues bitterly over any loot acquired during play. If a major hindrance, he fights over anything he considers unfair and may even kill for his quote fair share. That's player character.
Oh,
So that's kind of the core of the starting of the character creation. You still have races,
Yeah.
and each race comes with its own benefits and drawbacks,
And
which
they
I think is awesome.
and they do give detailed rules for creating your own custom races too.
Yep. And it's very fleshed out, so it's easy for a GM and the players themselves to offer up ideas. The thing that I like is in D&D, most of the classes don't have any sort of flaw, right? Or the races don't have, or classes that don't have a flaw, right?
Not anymore.
The drow did, right? The drow had a big one.
Drow and Tieflings.
I don't know what one's Tiefling got.
They
They look like. Well, yeah, but nobody
That's
likes
more of a flavor.
because they look like a demon, right? But that's that's not like a mechanic in the book.
Yeah.
In the stat block
Right,
of the
no,
drow, there
yeah,
was
yeah,
a
was that sunlight sensitivity?
yes,
Yes.
and that's a huge drawback.
Oh,
And there were more drawbacks in past editions too, but that's not a topic unto itself.
And if you're watching or listening to this, please ask us questions if you want us to try to answer specific details about it.
We'll
And
do
we'll
what we
do our
can.
best. Once again, we're still learning this to the best we can. You guys plan on talking about the Savage Worlds Adventure deck? Actually, that we were going to get in. I don't know if that's what I'm thinking of, but the initiative
No, that's
and
not.
combat action cards.
No, that's not what I was talking
Okay, then I have no idea what he's talking about, but I do want to talk about the initiative and the way combat's handled
Yeah.
when we get to that point. I did want to give at least one example of some a race's abilities. So they have the Saurians, which look like a dragonborn, I guess.
Or was it folk?
So yeah, okay, I can see that. So you get an environmental weakness. Though not truly cold-blooded, Saurians are poor suited for frigid conditions. They suffer basically a penalty to resist cold environmental effects and suffer +4 damage from cold-based attack. That's huge.
Yep.
So that's going to impact how your character plays, right? You're going to constantly be on. Well, it's kind of cold up there. Can we wait until like next summer and go where it's a little warmer? So I really like that, and I also like that it comes in minor versions, like the fact that it's an outsider. So most races distrust Saurians for some reason. I mean, there's more there, but that's basically the thing, which means that you have to subtract from any persuasion rolls that involve other people.
Yep.
Which I think is a really great piece of flavor because now their physical appearance is affecting their interactions, which I like to see. What do you got, Brandon?
The adventure deck awaits. Savage World Adventure deck has 54 high quality cards. Blah blah blah. Adventure deck or adventure cards let you find romance, make enemies, eliminate or increase your damage, spot clues, and even betray your friends.
Oh, I like
It
that.
sounds like a deck of many things that affects your stats.
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't think it would. Maybe I just didn't get to it, or maybe I scrolled past it in my book. But um, so obviously, the big thing we want to get into is how we talked a little bit about character stats and edges and are their feats in this, and they're pretty cool. They're very there's a lot of them. You heard Ian mention that there's no classes. That's because there's so many options
Yep.
that even if you pick a lot of the same one as the guy next to you, you're still going to have a significantly different character.
Now, it is worth noting that they do give like examples of how you can build the class you want, but
Yes.
that's an option.
Yeah, and
And I'm the only one who's played this game at all. I played 3 different games, but
way
they've
to
all
throw us
been
under the bus. Thank you. Appreciate it.
and the train too.
Yeah, you threw under the bus and woo, woo, train rode me us over. Thank you.
But my point though is they were all completely different games each time.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what I think is really interesting about this system. The fact that it it avoids the bogging down of complex mechanics, but has some kind of complex. Um, I don't want to say crunch, where you have to calculate all the benefits and the traits and the flaws and hindrances that you have in a given moment.
I would say that there is a lot of modifiers that can be at play here and there, depending on what kind of game the GM wants to run.
Yeah.
But they're only there if you want them to be. I kind of feel like to a point.
Yeah. So, kind of moving beyond that, what's really cool is the combat. I think the combat is handled in a very interesting way, and it has inspired my own ideas for what I think combat should be in a game. So, everyone knows that in most games you have a target number or a DC to get the most out of your weapon attacks or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So they have something similar here, but what makes it different is the way damage is handled, right?
Yep.
The damage, Brandon, you might like this. You don't really have hit points at all. Instead, when an attack delivers, there's kind of a contested roll.
Yep.
Between the attacker and the defender, and if the attacker wins, you get a condition called shaken.
Yep.
It's not damage. Your character is just shaken, right? Something that they can shrug off if they don't get hit again, right? Once you're hit with shaken, though, you begin to collect wounds.
Yep.
And those wounds become progressively detrimental to your character. I don't know if you can give any specific details on that, Ian, but
Checking the index
Is
right
that
now.
would you say it's like exhaustion in combat?
I would say it's similar, yes.
Quote unquote.
Because think about it. Imagine instead of D&D, instead of having hit points, every time you got successfully slammed, you got a level of exhaustion. The way it affects the game mechanically is far more interesting.
Yep.
And I think that's what Wounds does, and I think that makes it far more engaging. Because it's no more just a number you're erasing and then rewriting. Okay, I'm done. It's basically like compounding conditions every time you get struck, which is fantastic. Did you find the page?
A couple of them.
Okay. Do you have some examples? There's a table specifically that simplifies it. This document is 212 pages, so
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of keep where everything's at. But I think that the whole overall idea is actually done quite well. And
Yep.
go ahead.
Basically, like the 3 scales of damage effects are shaken, wounds, and incapacitation. I mean, incapacitation, that one's fairly straightforward and obvious, I would say. Shaken basically just means you're rail distracted, momentarily shocked, and you have to basically roll a spirit roll to basically get rid of it. And when you start taking wounds, of which you can take up to 3, you basically take a negative equal to that wound score for what your rolls are.
And remember, you're making contested rolls, right? Whether it's in attacking or in a contested kind of environment in battle.
Ooh,
And the
injury
target
table.
numbers are really low. What?
Ooh, injury table.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. If you like lingering injuries and stuff, that's a big thing. What I think is really interesting, and I'd like to hear kind of Brandon's thoughts. The target numbers are really low. I think that like standard is like 4.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean that's a low number, but then the situation stockpiles those sorts of numbers on top of it.
Now it's worth mentioning, again, depending on what style of game you're playing, mind you, that you may have armor or you have like a parry or toughness roll too to soak up the damage.
Yep, it works very much like using it as a reaction, and you're still trying to roll higher than the attacker, which once again makes the turn more engaging. Because now you're not just being attacked against by an enemy; you're both constantly rolling dice on your turn and not your turn.
Let's be real here. People, players, like rolling dice.
Wrong dice.
So, what's that?
That makes it more convenient, more fun.
Yeah, well, yeah, and more fun when it's not your turn.
Yeah.
Because if you're being attacked, you can take a sort of, I would say, like a reaction, right?
Yeah.
So,
And
so how do you die?
you get too many wounds. It seems like seems pretty simple. How else does anybody
Well,
die in a
how many
fantasy
wounds
RPG?
is too many wounds?
I don't know. Is it 6?
Okay, let me see
3?
here. Incapacitation. Incapacitators are necessarily dead or during anything useful. They may not perform actions. Wild cards. Okay.
Wild cards are the names of the players.
Wild cards are incapacitated if they suffer more than 3. If they
3.
suffer more than 3, and when you become incapacitated, you make an immediate vigor roll. A total of 1 or less, you're dead. Failure, you roll on the injury table. There's fun stuff there. Success, you roll on the injury table, but it goes away after all wounds are healed. And you roll raise, which basically means what? 3 above the target
3
number?
above.
Yeah.
So that's actually something you
Yep.
touched on. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. But if you roll a raise, the injury goes away in 24 hours, or when all wounds are healed.
So regardless of how good you roll, you're still going to get hurt.
Yes.
Yes.
That's really cool. I like that. You don't see that in D&D.
No.
And
Like you lost your finger. Oh, look, that's the next day. It's back.
it's worth so I want to talk about how initiative is handled in this game.
You can lose your unmentionables permanently.
Your what? Your vegetables?
Unmentionable.
Unmentionables. I do remember reading
It's
it.
on the table.
So initiative is handled in a very unique way. It uses a standard deck of playing cards.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's random. You shuffle them and it gets passed out.
So there's no initiative score. It's just a randomized.
Yep.
There's no initiative score. There is ways to get advantages on that though.
Yes, there are such as edges, which allows you to draw
Edges
more
is
cards.
one. Yep.
and
So
pick
you
one.
could draw more and then pick one if you want, like he just said. I didn't mean to repeat what you just said, but that was where I was going with that. So that helps you get kind of control your position. There's also bennies.
Oh yes.
Now we haven't talked about this. We talked a little bit about combat. The initiative is really cool. Drawing the initiative cards randomly means it's always you never know who's going to go first.
No.
And I think that's really cool. You can still hold your action and do readied actions and all that stuff. And they give you a plethora of actions that you can take inside of Savage Worlds, and they're very nicely detailed.
I mean, you can do a lot of things with bennies, but the biggest thing is allow you like re-rolls. And you
What is a Benny?
basically it's the Savage World version of an inspiration point.
Yeah, and you start the game with 3 right out the bat.
Yep. And the GM can award them to players as you progress.
Yes.
And one great example of that is, as we mentioned before, you can choose to take hindrances, and if I decide to, as a player, play up the greedy hindrance, the GM like saying, "You played your character. Here's a bunny."
And as you said, like the inspiration.
Okay, so what if we draw doubles? You just draw again?
No doubles what?
If you with a normal deck of playing cards, someone gets a 4 and then someone else gets a 4.
Goes by suit.
It goes by suit?
Yeah.
That's clever.
I knew that 'cause I asked that same question when I was first. I was like, okay, what happens when we get the same number? So the bennies, which apparently is short, is an American slang for benefits.
Yep.
Not friends with benefits. That's something different. Though, if you're friends with benefits with your GM, maybe you get more bennies. In more ways than one, I would suppose.
No, that'd be a dynamic we should probably not get into.
So,
You
you
still
touched
owe
the,
me.
huh?
You still owe me inspiration for shaving dice out of your pubes.
Oh, that's funny. Don't ask.
I did not need that man
Don't-
back.
Just that context right there is fantastic. So,
Oh,
Uh,
fuck. I forgot. What about the people who don't know? Ooh.
no, that really. Okay.
Okay,
So,
cool. Yeah.
so you mentioned rerolls on
Alright.
bennies. You
Yeah.
can awesome to recover from shaken.
Yep.
So that means you can save yourself essentially and reduce your chance of dying. You can soak rolls. So when when you roll against a creature and you lose, you can spend a benny to roll and add to it and absorb some of the damage. If I'm not mistaken,
So let's add to it, not reroll.
Yep.
which is different than a reroll because it increases your. If you roll a 2 and now it goes up, right? Instead of re-rolling it, you can draw a new action card. If you don't know what an action card is, it was briefly discussed earlier, right?
Yep.
Which is the adventure.
The adventure cards.
No, that's the adventure deck. I don't think that's the same as the action card. The action card is part of the initiative deck that you're pulling from.
Charles.
You can re-roll damage with pennies. Yes, you can. You regain power points for your power features and stuff like that. And you can influence the story. A penny can count as a minor plot point. Yep. And I think that is awesome. I really think that the team here and bennies expire at the end of the session, so use them or lose them. So that means people are encouraged to constantly utilize this resource in their game.
Yep.
So, is there anything else that we want to touch on for the game? Because there's a lot to cover, but I think that
These make more sense now because I'm reading at these adventure cards.
okay.
One of them is Last Stand. Your hero and all allies within 5 feet, 10 yards, gain +2 parry and toughness until the next Joker is dealt.
Nice.
What it means by Joker, now I get it because she's
Initiative.
playing card finish.
Yeah.
And that also states you have to have Jokers in the deck.
Yes, and that's pointed out in the instructions early on. There are some stuff that I thought was really interesting. So you guys know how in 5e I use the engage, short, medium, long range, extreme, fuzzy feet, I guess. For range. They do the same thing here.
Mhm.
And there's special feats that actually help you overcome some of those, which I thought was really cool.
Yep.
Like anything in extreme, you can't attack unless you have the aim edge, I think.
And they definitely have lots of skills for different types of combat or fighting. Fighting is just a skill.
Yeah.
That you have to choose to get.
But not everyone has it. So it's not like 5e where everyone can attempt to grapple somebody or whatever like that. You know, you have to have skills. And there's a lot of prerequisites, just like the edges are just like feats, right? There's a lot of prereqs.
But a good example of that was one of the games I played in. We kind of did like a horror movie style scenario where we're basically a small town being preyed on by a demon, and the characters that the GM created were all normal townspeople. Like I was playing like an old priest. Did you think old priests can fight? Heck no.
No. Let's wrestle, boy.
So we basically had to solve a mystery, try to gather a ritual together.
You're here to wrestle me. It has called shots.
Yep.
And I think it does it really, really well.
Yeah.
And that's not exactly something you can pull off really well, but because it's contested rolls and stuff, it just increases penalties for yourself significantly. But you have to stipulate what you're going for, and it applies specific debuffs, I guess.
Yeah.
Like going for a hand is going to be a disarm attempt, not just removing the hand, but removing whatever they're holding too, which I think is really cool. Of course, going for an unarmored area, right in the chink of their arm or under the armpit or something like that. You know what I mean? Which I think is really good. That's a really hard thing to do, and I think this system really gets it pretty well. We have a question in chat from Ramil. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong.
Ray.
I'm a
Rachel.
public educated person.
Miles.
So, how easy do you think it would be to port over my Kickstarter D&D books I've bought?
It's worth noting that they actually, especially in this edition, did create a Pathfinder module
Yes,
in book form or PDF download. So I would
I would
imagine
say
fairly
easy.
easily.
Yes. Now
And-
that's limited understanding, but if they can convert it to a crunchy Pathfinder, you're good.
Yep. And it's also worth noting too that you commented earlier when you looked at the monster stat blocks how
Yes.
tiny they are, and that's not in a bad way at all. I mean,
It's super great. I mean, they basically give the primary stats and the die that goes with them, and you roll from there. Because the numbers are actually on a very low level. They don't, no matter how long you play, the numbers don't get much bigger, which I think is great.
all right, let me use one example here. Dire Wolf. Skipping the description, attributes agility D8, smarts D4, spirit D6, strength D8, vigor D8,
Educated.
skills D8. Wait, skills. Fighting D8, intimidation D8, notice D6, pace 10, movement, parry 6, toughness 6, special abilities, bite, strength score plus a D6, the ability to go for the throat. With the reason it's attack roll, it hits the target's most weakly armored location, and yes, armored locations do matter.
Yes, which comes back to the called shots thing. Yep,
And fleet footed, which means they roll D10s of D6s when they run.
go ahead, B.
How do we handle leveling?
There, you don't. It's just like milestones occasionally.
Ish. I mean, yes.
There's no levels. It's something else.
Yeah.
And it's more or less, hey, you get some bonuses now. Why don't you go pick some stuff up? He's going to look for the specific section.
Yeah.
But that proves that
There's
you
no
don't need to go
leveling.
level 1 to 20. The
You
DM
search
just
it.
says, okay, you guys just conquered this big challenge. Here's there's a template for the things that you can reward them, right?
Yeah.
And it basically just says when you think you're ready to go up to from street level heroing to city or country level.
Yep.
Here's some things you can do.
And they do have like ranks, if you will, for characters, depending how.
And you can focus on increasing those because it goes from novice to like
Yeah.
master or something, right?
Yeah.
And some traits require you to be at a certain rank in order to get farther. So you're not necessarily less leveling up, but you're getting better at collecting new traits.
You're getting more experience.
So no hit points are going in up because you don't have hit points, right?
Yep.
Your armor gets a little better, which gives you more, benefits,
Like-
but it's mild compared to what you're used to in like an RPG like Pathfinder or D&D, which I think is a good fresh take on it.
Yep. I mean, I was going to shout out a couple examples here. Like, there's some leadership edges that are called out, for example. Like, when you're not, you can get the command edge. And you can also gain the edge, hold the line if you're seasoned, or you can also gain leader of men if you're a veteran.
And so those are the milestones you're talking about,
Yes.
right? If you're a novice, you're starting on the street floor like Daredevil,
Yep.
right? And then you become, an expert like Iron Man
Mhm.
on the city level protecting. I don't know how better to describe that, but it proves that you don't
Yeah.
need advanced levels to progress the characters.
No, and I've played plenty of RPGs. We don't have such classes or levels, and
Yes.
it works just fine.
Yep, and it works really good. And that's what we really want to push around here is that while Dungeons and Dragons is considered the world's greatest role play, there's some games that just do some things a lot better.
And I do think like the D20 system, which is based off of, is a good all-around solid system, but we say it's a good generalized system, not necessarily a good specialized system per se. And that's not to be a knock against it by any
Right,
means,
right.
But yeah.
There's one thing I noticed in that the versatility of your abilities, and I'll give you an example. So you have a gun, and it goes pew pew. It shoots a couple bullets, whatever. But there's details on how do I handle it if I want to give suppressing fire. My goal isn't to try to hit a bunch of people; it's to try to give cover for my ally so he can get from point A to point B. There's a rule for that, and it's basically just another check.
Oh, suppressive fire, page 79.
There it is. And to me, that is fantastic because you're not saying the weapon can't do this. It's giving you guides of what you can expect the players to try to do, and how you can utilize that to your advantage and have bend the rules so that they fit that narrative or that scenario.
And they do have a lot of rules in here for various weapons and vehicles too.
When he says various, he's being very
Generous, I know.
generous. I would even say there's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
the standard rule book here comes with like stuff that you would want to play for all your like core kind of settings, which is really cool.
They even have rules for anti-personnel mines.
Never mind, there's a massive rocket flying on one of the pages, and right after a page, I think of somebody wielding a sword. Like, like that doesn't jive. But it's so versatile, and I think that's why it's become so popular and critically acclaimed because the rules are much lighter, and it allows you to be able to do kind of what you want.
Yeah.
But still have target numbers that
Yeah.
you could fail.
I wouldn't necessarily say lighter as much as more versatile.
I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough.
I'll say they're as deep and as complicated as you want them to be. Oh,
That's a better way to say it,
Yeah.
I think, because the rules themselves are simple, but it can get complex if you seek it.
Yep.
If you seek it, it will come. And there's samples and stuff of how to perform tasks and stuff, and
Yep.
there's different conditions and all that stuff you'd expect from any RPG. They do go into quite a bit of different ways to kill your character. I think it's fabulous, whether it's
Yes.
drowning or disease or electricity. I mean, there's a whole couple pages. Hunger, let him die. There's a whole couple pages to these different things before you get to like mass battles. The mass battle section is really done really well. So if you like that sort of aspect of the game,
I actually played in one. It was kind of fun, actually.
yeah, and it once again it takes it from a kind of miniature game to a more large, overbearing or not overbearing overall scene of what's going on.
Now, it's worth noting there are rules and recognition of miniatures and maps.
Yes,
So.
and they give you the details for that if you want to use it. Clearly, and this is Justin's opinion, reading through this, I have not played it, unfortunately,
And
but I do think it's designed very well for theater of the mind type play.
And I will also acknowledge that the 3 games I did play, we did, aside from the fantasy one, we did not, for like one encounter, we didn't really use miniatures.
No.
So,
No, so we keep doing all this praising and interaction and
Yep.
talks of it. What are some of the cons, do you think, of Savage Worlds gaming system?
I would say that this is true of a lot of RPGs in general. It's very easy, as simple as it is, it's very easy to get lost.
Yeah,
The
I would agree
details.
with that.
I don't mean it as a knock by any means.
I think that you're going to have that with any RPG, though, when
And-
there's hundreds of pages deep.
Right, and I also would say it's worth mentioning that depending on what type of game you're playing, depending on what setting you're playing in, there's some rules you just really won't touch.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were well thought out and placed in there for when you do need them
Mhm.
is super convenient. So,
And I also like the fact, too, that if reading through all these supplements, there are some items here or monsters or whatever that are clearly based on some various like pop culture references.
you got a good example?
I don't know, maybe like, for example, some bullets that release UV light when it strikes a creature.
Like a
Underworld.
vampire?
Underworld.
Yeah.
Reference to Underworld.
Nice. So, all right. So, what's our overall thought of this? I'll give you mine first. I think it's really well done. It's clearly time tested. Many people have picked it up and utilized it to build their own worlds and their own stories. It's versatile.
Yep.
So versatile.
And I've definitely seen quite a few, lots of settings used. Like I've seen like a Solomon Kane adapted to this, for example. I've seen Deadlands, which is a Western setting with a little magic mixed in. I've seen Rift adapted, Pathfinder adapted, and these are all official, mind you.
Right.
Necessary Evil, where you all play supervillains,
This is
Okay, I'm down. Let's do it.
right?
Let's be a supervillain. Are you
Yep.
kidding me? I want to be a
Yeah.
mastermind.
They even made Robotech.
So, classic. What do you think, Brandon?
it sounds like it'd be easy to learn.
Yes.
I don't want to play it.
Why?
I want to DM it.
That would still be playing.
You know what? Okay.
Player. I get you.
Smart ass.
So I would say there was something that I read in this that would be a takeaway to every RPG player.
Yep.
GM specifically. Not just the bennies, which I think you can add to your game with no trouble at all.
Nope.
I want to talk about there's almost a half of a
Okay.
page.
The core book is $9.
Oh,
$10.
Yeah.
Actually, I do want to get into that because I did do some research ahead of time.
I'm giving my overall thing. Y'all gonna interrupt me
Yeah.
about the price?
Sorry.
Yeah, you better be.
Gall. There's templates in
So
the back.
there is a section, I think it's a whole column dedicated to what happens when your characters miss. And
Yep.
one of them, I'm pretty sure, says bystanders.
Yep.
And that you should never forget the character's surroundings when they
Yep.
miss, because it focuses and enhances the situation of the scenario.
And Silas on Facebook says that the system sounds similar to White Wolf games like Hunter, The Reckoning, and Trinity. And my response to that is, I do acknowledge there is some overlap here and there, but once again, it depends on how it's run in the end.
Yeah, but that's going to be true of any RPG.
To a
Of
point,
course,
yes.
now I've got a new one I've got to look into, so thank you, Silas.
Yep.
So-
Charles even said the adventure deck that we mentioned earlier, he uses a 5th edition game.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. That means it's written in a way that's easily system agnostic.
Yeah.
Which is great. The other thing,
Or adapted.
the other thing that I think you can really do really well is adapt. I like the initiative system.
Yeah.
We talk about how initiative is calculated in 5th edition. What if you just gave that number of cards to somebody and they picked, and you could play the cards face down, so nobody knows the initiative of like the monsters and stuff, and that would be fun.
And if I recall correctly, you can draw more than one card for initiative, and you can hold on them and go, I'll play the bad initiative now for this combat. So I have this good one for
So
later.
you have it for the big good front runner for the good big boss. Now what are you talking about the price? $10? That's a steal.
Well, okay.
Or it was a library book, and that's what his overdue payment is.
The core rulebook for the last edition they released, that was $10. And I did kind of go down the rabbit hole trying to look at the price. The PDF for the latest edition, that's $10. And when I did go to Amazon as well as the website, the hardcovers were not released yet or back ordered, but you can buy the hardcover plus PDF for $40. And you mentioned that this was available in the first place on DriveThruRPG as per on demand. Do you remember what the price for that was?
Oh, it's not? It's just PDF only?
Oh, never mind.
I was mistaken.
Thank you, Alicia.
Happens on occasion. We got our fact checker back here.
Maybe Ricardo. Sounds like it'd be fun.
Yeah.
It's adamantine bestseller, which says
Yep.
that it's great.
And Ricardo, I know we are considering playing one shots of various RPGs we're
Yep.
overviewing.
We're going to be making some changes to the show, and that's one of the things we want to do. We'll have an episode. I don't want to get too much into it. We'll talk about it, and we'll play it, and then we'll come back and talk about it. And I think that'll be a really good compare and contrast.
I mean, I remember playing in a Sally Short-lived campaign that was off of the Lost Girl TV show, where I basically played a character that could turn into a werewolf.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
we like it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we had to give this a gray, A is an awesome, or F is in failure, where would you rate it? We're the Academy. It occurs to me we've never leaned into actually grading stuff. So
Pre-play.
and you know,
8 of 10. 9 of 10.
does that fit on a grade scale of A to F to you?
Oh, you said grade scale?
Are-
Sorry, I was reading the book and looking at the screen. I was paying attention to what you're saying. Like I never do.
Well, he thought, you should have said you thought he said grayscale. Your scale.
What do I think about it? Well,
Yes. Just from now, the two of us have not played this, so that'll be based purely on basically our discussion and me actually reading it.
Pre-play? B. You mean A. It sounds fun.
Yeah.
But I'll come back and say it again when I actually get a chance
Someday.
to play with it.
I'll give it a B plus. It's definitely a RPG that has a lot of potential to it, but that said, a lot of it does come down to the understanding of the system by the players and the GM and how they're implemented. And I do think that is worth talking about.
Yeah. And some of it, it actually notes that the wound system from people that come from HP systems can seem confusing.
Yeah.
To me, it made sense. I was like, this is way better.
It was
I wanna
relatively
use this.
straightforward.
But for some people, it is a struggle.
Great.
I would agree. I'd say a solid B+.
There's that learning curve you got to deal with.
Yeah.
Like one of my 5e players.
Yeah.
All players Pathfinder. So So try attacking a 5-foot step once. Like, no, that's not in 5th edition. Like, wait, so I can't attack in 5-foot steps? Like, no.
No,
takes
you
an
attack, he's
action.
gonna stab you.
It takes an action to disengage.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this? I guess it's D&D.
You can kill him and then 5-foot step.
Tell him to be kill him, then take a 5-foot step. Then it doesn't matter with the blood on your foot.
He's doing fantastic. He's a really good player.
Yeah.
All right. So,
A little too good.
Savage Worlds is a game that is designed to be easy to run and easy to play. The Game Master's Guide is clear and concise, which I like. And the game's simple but deep mechanics make it easy for new players to jump in and start playing right away. I highly recommend it, especially in the current turmoil is that the ultimate enemies that we got out there from
The tabletop overlords.
tabletop overlords. Somebody like Hasbroasaur or whatever,
Yeah.
demolishing us. Small
Wizards of the Coast. Wickeds of the Coast.
Like that. All right, so I think that'll do it for our main topic today. I also talked about here.
I was playing that game. Like,
What's that?
I keep forgetting I do that.
Oh yeah. Start playing
I
games.
haven't done an online game in a long
So,
time.
yeah, you can support Brandon by letting him run games for you. Maybe he's as good as he says. I don't know. He never invites me to any of his
Fucking
games.
fantastic, and you don't deserve to be in my game.
So. Oh, whatever.
You're too
All right.
busy.
So before we move on to our Honor tips and tricks, where we bring you new and reusable material for your D&D game, where we bring you new and reusable material for your RPG games, I want to give a huge shout out that we have another Kickstarter coming soon with Alex's Bombastic Oddities. It launches February 21st for any tabletop RPG. Please keep an eye out on our social media and email. Sign up for our email for updates and fat loots. I'm really excited for this. She has done an amazing job of developing not only a deep and great lore for unique gods and race, a new race, but also the random tables that she created are just full of all kinds of crazy oddities that you can just spew out to your players when you need something to fill a room, and they're great. So, if you haven't checked out Alex Baum, make sure to follow her on TikTok and Twitch and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Hello.
All right, moving on to our Unearth tips and tricks
Segment.
I'm about to.
Sneeze.
I thought I had a cough coming.
Okay.
I'll
do it for
Our monster today is the putrescent blight.
you. Putrescent.
Now, I'm not going to lie.
As in
I
putrid?
totally base this around the Marlboro.
Okay. From Final Fantasy.
Yes. And the reason I did that is because this episode was supposed to cover a 5e supplement.
Originally, yes.
And so I changed it around after the
Kinda
OGL
like the-
nonsense.
The eyeless giant mouth squid thing that flies around.
Yes, and
Yes.
it has the most horrible breath weapon that incapacitates and has led me to die more than once.
Yeah.
So, how do we build this? We're going to start with the stat block for you with the Trent. We're going to give it the aura of toxicity. So, just being near this damn thing is going to
you just say
demolish
Trent?
you. Trent. What?
We looked at each other and said this like, the fuck did he just say?
Did I say Trent?
Yeah,
Yes.
Trent. That's a name. That's what you
He's
call a
both.
douchebag.
Now I need a tree ant named Trent.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I hate you. No, but I could make a giant killer carrot named Karen. No? Okay.
Anyway,
All right, so we're gonna give it a toxic aura that deals, poison damage, forcing a con save to the enemy to the players. We're gonna give it legendary resistance. If the putrid blight, fails, it can choose to succeed. Players are gonna hate you for that.
Yep.
Who cares? This thing isn't nearly as brutally strong as a real trance.
Yep.
I didn't say Trent that time.
Yeah.
And of course, we're gonna give it horrible breath. Now,
Yeah.
this is brutal. It on a failure by 5 or it does poison damage, but on a failure of 5 or more, it blinds, deafens, and the character gains a level of exhaustion.
Ah!
Talk about nightmare fuel.
Not as much as a picture I saw the other day.
I don't want. What do you be looking up on the internet, man? You got to be staring away from the dark web, there, buddy.
No, it was posted in a D&D group. What the group sees, a regular Labrador because he failed their spot check. What the paladin saw. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's nightmare fuel.
So, it's worth noting that this effect can only be removed with lesser restoration or a similar spell.
I've noticed that your monsters have been getting more and more deadly
That's
every
okay.
episode.
What? It's not like I've challenged myself to build a monster within the bounds of the CR that can still be at the top of the CR to destroy stuff. I would never do that. And of course, we're going to give it a reaction because I love taking turns on other people's turns as the DM. So we're going to give it when it's hit with a melee attack. It can use a reaction. Sends out vine-like tendrils to a 10-foot radius, and every creature in that area must succeed on a dex save or be bludgeoned all to hell and restrained and bound by the creature. Each creature is restrained by the tendrils can use an action to or can try to escape and to free itself. What do you guys think about this?
I'm sorry, Ian distracted me.
Okay, it is awesome because some people believe incorrectly because they're not doing it right that D&D is not deadly enough, but this gives them a silver bullet against that, saying, "Oh, really?
Yes, I like that. And the in exhaustion can be brutal.
Oh, yes."
6 levels and you're dead, and only can recover one a night per long rest.
Yes.
So overall, would you guys use this monster?
Absolutely.
If my players piss me off, I will.
They don't have.
Which, by the way, they started watching the show.
Oh,
if
thank
you're-
you
if
guys
you're
very
watching
much
me,
for watching the show.
You better fucking behave.
Or the Trent is coming. Treant is coming after you.
Trent the tree.
Damn it. I hate you all. All right, how about we talk about our encounter? I think this is a good one.
Charles. So in theory, 6 rounds and TPK.
Only if you don't give them the option to run. Of course, they're blind, deaf, and tired, so they're gonna run, but they're not gonna get very far.
Yeah.
Like as soon as this thing, I mean, it will demolish a group if it is vulnerable to fire. So you light its ass up, you'll burn through it pretty quickly. But yeah, it's brutal. It requires a tactic besides just charging in and saying, "Ah, I rage." Anyways, all right, Brandon, would you like to tell us about our encounter, the lost treasure of Lord Eldridge? Maybe we'll switch between paragraphs there.
Synopsis: the party is hired by a wealthy lord to. What?
You don't actually have to say synopsis.
He does
Never
now.
mind. Go.
I'm
whatever.
going to. I will read. Fuck you. The party is hired by a wealthy lord to recover a valuable treasure that was lost when his ancestral home was overrun by monsters many years ago. The Lord believes the treasure is still hidden within the ruins of the home, and he offers a generous reward for its recovery. However, as the party delves deeper into the ruins, they discover that the treasure is not the only thing that's been lost in the ancient mansion.
The adventure starts with a party arriving at the ruins of Lord Eldridge's ancestral home, which is located in a dense forest where there's a Marlboro or a blight in there for you from the previous discussion. Destroying putrescent blight, I think is what it was. They find the ruins overrun by monsters such as giant rats, bats, and spiders. Blah blah blah. The Lord had told the party that the treasure was hidden in the family's old library behind a secret door. Ooh, I think it'd be better to not tell them that, honestly. I don't know where it's at.
You think?
The door is locked and requires a specific combination of 3 books to open. Ooh, the party needs to find them before they can open the door. They also need to find clues to locate the books that are scattered around the ruins. Ruins.
Let's
Ruins.
This house
Not
is
ruins.
fucking terrifying.
We found some ancient dwarven ruins. Wait, ruins or ruins? Ruins!
Ruined, of course.
So, as they delve into this and they're sneaking around, they find all kinds of things besides just the books. Not just gold and jewelry. They find a room full of dark magic that is cursed, and the treasure room was the scene of a dark ritual performed by Lord Eldridge's ancestors to gain great power and wealth. But the ritual went wrong, and it cursed the entire family.
Like it always is.
The treasure is now guarded by powerful demon. What?
Did it cost an arm and a leg?
They were trying to bring back their mom. The demon was summoned during the ritual, and the demon offers the party a deal. It will give them the treasure and release them if they complete a task for him.
Edward.
You want to take that?
The task is to retrieve a powerful artifact that is hidden within another place.
Oh no!
Of
Another
course.
go here quest.
This artifact can break the curse and free the family's souls from the demon's grasp. Now, the party must decide if they want to take the treasure and run, or to complete the task and break the curse. In either case, they have to face the demon who is determined to keep the treasure and the power that comes with it. And the party has discovered the real treasure is not the golden jewels, but the knowledge of the artifact and the freedom of the family from the curse. Not friendship, people.
Silas says, "I see your Trent the Treant, and raise you Kurt the Kobold." That's good.
My rebuttal to that is there's Kobold presses the Swobold.
Ooh. So is that Sam the Swobold?
My
Yes.
players have a kobold named Jerry. Follows him around.
Jerry. How's it going, Jerry?
They
Jerry.
free him from chains. It's like, I'll help you along. I'll be your friend.
Why do they always do that?
What?
They end up with little pets. What do we? Let's talk about the encounter. What do you guys
It's
think
what
about
they want.
Was anybody paying attention?
Yes,
more than usual.
it's go get this for me, and then when you get there, it's another go get this for me.
So yeah, but what's interesting is now that they're there, they ran into a challenge that they didn't expect.
Yep.
Locked them in and forced them into a deal to escape. Or
Yep.
they try to fight it. I think the idea of them having a monster that's too strong for them to beat,
Yep.
I think would make it good.
Here's what I'm confused about. The demon says, if you go do this for me, I'll let you go, right?
Yes.
And free the souls that it bound to it, it sounds like. I think I
So
missed some
let's just stop them from just leaving.
Marvin the Mind
Well, I'd
Flayer.
imagine some sort of magic. Marvin the Mind Flayer. I love this. This is an awesome game. We need to go through the monster manual and just give every
Give them all
monster
names.
name
Basic
that are
names.
like based on the first letter. That's ridiculous. Of
Marjorie
what the
the Mimic.
monster is. Marjorie the Mimic.
Nothing about
Oh,
about one game where we encountered a dragon. When we ask, what's the dragon's name? Me? Is it Steve?
Basilisk, the basilisk.
Barry the Beholder.
No, his name is not Steve. It's this name in Draconic, which you can't pronounce. Is it Draconic for Steve?
All right, this is a pretty simple encounter. A little bit of depth. Hopefully, it gives you a nice outline. TikTok challenge for you guys. I'm down for it.
Hey.
I haven't made a TikTok in forever because it suppressed me. And I was done with
I
that
did
shit.
the whole Smasher Pass thing on my TikTok, and it's still up.
All right.
I mean, I'm good
One thing I would do is I would add a curse to the players.
Yep.
And bind it to them so they're connected once they're freed.
Or
What is the monk ability that says they could just snap you dead? I'd give them that as a
Quivering
curse.
palm.
or
That deals.
by
damage.
entering the chamber where the demon is, the players are also cursed, giving them motivation to actually do it.
Exactly what I was thinking.
They can leave, and every time they take a long rest, they reappear. They wake up in the basement, and the demon's like, "Hey, how you doing?"
You know what I would like to do? I'd love to do a D&D encounter, lot like the first Star. Just get the players locked in a dungeon, and they have to make some terrible sacrifice of their own,
I did
chopping
that.
off their own
I
leg
did
or something
that,
to get free.
and the players didn't give a shit.
They're like, "Oh, I just chop off my leg. All right, well, your nickname's Stump from now on."
Like, you got a cage with a mom and another cage with children, and you can see these spikes are slowly every round they come down by 1 foot. And all you have to do is you look over and you can see a man, and he's holding 2 chains. You got to tell him to pull one of them. And I think I throw a javelin in his right hand. It's like, what? I'm going to choose for him.
Ooh,
You're a dick.
what if they don't know it's a demon until they agreed to help them?
Ooh, that's even better, Kathy. Well done. I like that. They don't know it's hidden because they can shapeshift, right? Or some of them.
Some can.
So, or use illusion at the very least. All right, that'll do it for our encounter. Let's talk about our magic item.
The Lantern of Shared Sight. Wondrous, uncommon. I like it already. The lantern is made of brass and glass and has a small crystal embedded in its center. The crystal glows a soft white light when the lantern is lit. You can use your action to light or put out the lantern, and when it's lit, up to 6 creatures you choose 6 creatures up to within 30 feet of you. They gain the ability to see through to see your eyes while they remain within 30 feet of you. They can use their own action to end this effect.
That's
The
cool.
lantern also grants a limited form of truth seeing to those affected by it.
What?
Nice touch.
Thanks.
They can see through any illusion, darkness, and other forms of concealment or obscuration that would prevent them from seeing something. And this lantern has 6 hours of illumination before it runs out of magic. And once it runs out, it becomes a regular lantern. Now the mesh returns after being left in a place with sunlight for about 8 hours. This lantern can be useful for the party when they're trying to navigate traps, obstacles, or identify hidden enemies. It can also help the group share and coordinate their actions better. Like get support.
The magic returns after being in sunlight for 8 hours. It's solar power.
Thank you for that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
Shadow Soak, always a past Savage World.
If you like the
It was in combat and the ship was hard.
Yeah, we really enjoyed covering it.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna definitely want to cover Savage Worlds more, especially once I play it. I wish I had.
Yeah.
gives you
Kathy,
sight
that-
beyond sight.
Kathy, I think it's funny. What if they didn't know it was a demon until they agreed to help and all that? And what was it? Someone else said it.
Were you?
No,
We're-
it wasn't that one. It was something else.
We already talked about
Charles,
that in past.
Charles with the binding contract.
I like
No,
the binding contracts.
It made me think of how I made a face on my players' names, and they had no idea what was coming.
You made a what?
Okay.
A fey that stole my players' names. It wasn't some stupid request like, "Hey, can I have your name?" or something like that. It's like, no, people know the group as Tempest Equitem, these heroes that are traveling the world. A bunch of kids came and said, "Can I have your autograph? Can I have your autograph?" One of them was a fey, so he stole his name.
You tricky bastard. All right, the magic item. Do you guys like the magic item?
Yes,
Letting
I do.
people see through your eyes, giving you a version of true sight, and it's solar powered.
I love this.
I would potentially knock it up from uncommon to rare just because it can see through illusions.
Yeah, but how often does that come up?
I would say it depends on the DM. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
How often do you walk into a river that's not fucking
Right.
there? Dickhead.
Oh my god! So I'm writing for Quintessential's Quintessential Monsters, and I made a monster to go with that, the Basilisk Queen, and I'm using that whole scene as my adventure, and it's glorious. Anyways, that'll do it for our magic item. I don't remember what it is, but whatever.
Lantern.
Our Game Master tip.
The GMT
Yeah,
is a BMT.
yeah.
Treasure hunts!
Let's talk about treasure hunts. Brandon, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Including treasure hunts in a Dungeons and Dragons.
No, the game's fine. It's just the publishers we have issues with. They're execs.
D&D 5e is so great.
Including treasure hunts in tabletop RPG games. Nice. Can add a lot of excitement and adventure for the players. Here are a few reasons why a dungeon master or game master, one. Yeah, damn it, dude.
I've been writing Dungeon Master for like 7 years. Give me a break.
Reasons why a game master might choose to include treasure hunts in their game provides a sense of accomplishment. By completing a treasure hunt, players feel a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction that they have completed a challenging task and found something valuable.
That's a really good one because it's easy to get distracted by the sense of just enjoying the game for killing NPCs.
Yeah.
I think.
But that's my favorite part.
But including treasure hunts are something that can be fun and done inside of any setting, not just where there's monsters, right?
Oh my god.
You can call me Justin.
Imagine there's that person. I'm going to use detect magic. Like you sense something very powerful, and it's like 3 rooms away, and they go through hell and back to get through these 3 rooms. And they finally get this magic item, take it back, and get looked at, and they're like, "This is just magic to be magic." It fools players then go into the dungeon.
There's a spell that does that.
Nice.
That you can give the aura. I think Nitel's aura or whatever. It allows you to coat an item in an aura of magic without it really giving it any magic powers. It just looks magical. It also encourages exploration and problem solving, and treasure hunts require players to explore the game world, gather clues, solve puzzles, and this can be a really great, engaging, and enjoyable way to challenge the players to explore different aspects of the game that they wouldn't normally. Right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that, you guys?
Something that would be interesting too is if everyone's trying to hunt for treasure, that means NPCs also could be hunting for treasure as well.
Rivals.
Yeah, rivals, enemies. I keep picturing them like a blowhard treasure hunter who everybody underestimates, and picturing them voiced by Matt Berry.
I'm the type of douche that would have like an old man leave a will of a treasure hunt, and then at the end, all it is a little like
You
hard as
stupid-
hell. No,
you
no.
stupid bitches.
It's hard as hell. They gotta go to the top of a mountain, to the bottom of the sea. Find a flying giant, cloud giants. Giant castle, and open it up and says, "The greatest treasure is the time spent with friends." They're like, bullshit. Where's my sword?
You go murder his whole family. But I like the rival thing. I never think about giving the players the group like a rival group that's always contesting against them. Not bad guys, just another group's like, hey, what are you bitches doing? This is our pub.
You really want to take it up a notch? Use old characters of theirs.
Ugh.
You're welcome.
Okay. So the bad news is, because I tried to get to the treasure, my hand got stuck in that trap, and I had to cut it off to escape. But the good news is, I now have a robot hand. And, as an added benefit, I have my off as a grappling hook.
Charles actually says have multiple groups in a party can play, and then they can do an epic PvP versus their own players. That's interesting.
Their own characters, yeah.
I did that.
Troop style play.
I did that with their own players.
I want to do that with like a raid boss. I've always wanted to see if there's a way to do a raid boss encounter, like 40-man players against one boss. You obviously can't do that as easily in Dungeons & Dragons, but that's been always a dream of mine. Anyways, that'll do it for our Dungeon Master tip, treasure hunting.
Yeah.
Our player tip of the podcast is
Don't be a dick!
and you can avoid dickitude by trying different tabletop RPGs.
Be a dick by giving a certain publisher the middle finger.
Or two. Anyways, so why should people play other tabletop RPGs? Honestly, not just because of
Expanding your horizon.
the wicked of the coast, but there are people that have put their heart and souls into these games they've designed, and some of them are really, really good. So it adds variety. They take changes and make things different. Different role-playing games offer different experiences, different settings, allow the players to explore worlds with different characters and in different ways. So playing different games can be a way to break out of the rut and kind of try something new and exciting. Game mechanics is another reason, right?
Yep.
The game mechanics. We just talked about Savage Worlds and how different the game mechanics were.
And
different.
sometimes, too, when you learn about different mechanics in one RPG, you find something you might be able to carry over to another game.
It's my boy over here, an expert.
Yep.
Listen to him. Bennies. Hold the bennies into your game. Inspiration's cool. Bennies are cooler. They're way more versatile.
And you're not just kept at one.
Yeah. Also, new challenges. New challenges come from new RPGs, right?
Yep.
One thing I can think about is, and I really like, is I got the hiccups again. Is sorry, I feel like I got something coming. Anyways, is in like Blades of the Dark.
Yep.
The challenges in that game are different than what you would get in most other games. You take on a role of an entire team, right?
Yep.
In running through this heist is in thievery and all these other things are just different than most other games. Feng Shui does this movie scene, action scene better than any other Theater of the Mind game that I've played.
Actually, I will raise you to Hong Kong Action Theater.
Is that the one you had the people jumping off the airplanes in mid-flight, or was that Feng Shui?
That was me as Masterminds.
Oh, well, whatever. I haven't played the other one.
But Hong Kong Action Theater short version, your character is an actor, and each session is a new movie, and your actor's playing a new character. So even your character dies, who cares? He'll be cast in the next movie.
Brandon, what are some other benefits to playing a different role-playing game such as Savage Worlds instead of
Storytelling and creativity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, can you elaborate? No.
Yes.
Are you sure?
There's some things that you're limited to when it comes to storytelling, especially like in D&D. There's
How
certain
so?
things that you want to tell stories of that you can't do.
Or you don't have
So
the
you
tools?
end up having to homebrew shit. Like,
Or-
maybe you want to do something more along the lines of a World War II type game. You're not going to do that very well with D&D 5th edition because there's not a whole lot of
You have to make
shit
a bunch
like
of
that.
changes or reflavor a bunch of stuff.
And
this
we've
is a
actually
great
covered some
tank.
games that you
It's
can
like,
do
yeah.
that, such as Ultra Modern Redux.
He
Anyway,
was trying to make a point, and you just think his battleship.
you think
But
that battleship?
to his point, there still was
yeah.
changes that were needed, right?
And
Hold my armor.
I also would say too, though, that different mechanics might also encourage different types of thinking, which might apply to how you might approach situations, and therefore may impact the story in that way to perform. Going off what you were saying,
Absolutely. So, overall, I think it's pretty great and powerful. I think that this is a powerful tool. Ultimately, the main reason to try different role playing games is it can be fun. Experimenting with new games can be a great way to explore new worlds, meet new people, have a great time, and support small creators like ourselves. So, all right, and
Do it for a player tip.
thank you. That'll do it for our player tip today.
Don't be a dick.
And you can avoid dickitude by trying out new tabletop RPGs and giving the Wicked of the Coast a middle finger twice.
It's a shitload of them.
All right. If you enjoyed our show today and you'd like to support us, please consider visiting our website, picking up some of our content. If you like superheroes, we worked really, really hard on Capes and Crooks. And actually, it's been doing pretty good. So we have in the pipeline.
which kind of surprised us. Actually, we're being honest
Yeah,
here.
right.
We're not complaining.
We have a redo of the layout to be in hardcover. So everyone that was asking over and over again, are you going to make a Capes and Crooks hardcover? Yes. Yes, we are. And it's because you guys supported the RPG and it raised enough capital to be able to make that investment.
Which
so
is kind of
thank you.
hilarious, seeing how it started in the first place. But
Yeah,
hey,
it didn't go well.
yeah.
I mean, everyone loved it. It's a great game, but our Kickstarter chugged along with really big competition. It's like they're our alter ego, like Marvel to DC. I'm not gonna say their names. I don't want to call them out, but I was hurt.
And there's a few, guidelines too that kind of screwed us over.
Yeah. So, anyways, so you can support us by picking that stuff up, checking out our content, become a patron. We put out a lot of amazing content right now. Most of it is still 5th edition. We plan to continue to make like our monsters and stuff. So become a patron, show you love us, and come talk to me in Discord.
But that doesn't mean you can't take what we present and you can't adapt it to other systems too.
Or yeah, that's exactly what we've been talking about. You can bring your own Trent to your fantasy RPG.
Trent.
All right. Follow us on social media. Leave us a review.
Bob and
Anything else, B?
Carly the Harpy.
No, it's gonna start with an H. Harry the Harpy.
But Boblin doesn't start with a G.
Which one? Doesn't.
Boblin the Goblin.
Boblin the Goblin.
Oh, it would have to be Gary the Goblin.
It's rhyme with the second half.
Gary.
Yeah. What rhymes with Goblin?
Boblin.
Damn it! Oh, you just changed the first letter.
Yes.
No, that doesn't count. All right.
Darby the Harpy.
Darby.
There you go.
That'll do it for our show today. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
I'm your co-host, Brandon. Thanks for listening.
Keep your blades sharp and spells prepared, heroes.